I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ka Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge all Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is Shabai from GMS in Denver, and I'm going to read Jeremiah 37, the 37th chapter, starting at the top. Goes into the same thing that's happening now. You know, the prophets are warning the people. We're prophesying against many nations, just like the prophets before our time. They were speaking against countries, speaking against nations, and those countries and nations don't like the words the prophets speak because it's the truth. And a lot of these people, they don't want to believe the truth, or they don't want to accept the truth, right? Like they say in the world, the truth is a hard pill to swallow. So let's go to real quick before I read this, Jeremiah 28:8. It says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay? So the true prophets of the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, you know, they're going to be in a spirit of prophesying against countries, against nations. They're not going to be in a spirit of, like in this instance, we're not going to be sitting here praying for Babylon, America to be healed. We're not going to pray for Babylon to continue forever, and for the empire, of Babylon, America. We're not going to pray for it to flourish, right? Because we know that's not the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. If we did that, we would be praying against the will of the Most High Yahweh. Okay, because his will is his will is to destroy this place. So if we're praying to, heal this place, or to like these, that's one indicator of a false prophet. If they're praying for this place to be healed, if they're praying for this place to be spared or saved, guess what? They're not in the right spirit. They're not a true prophet of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, because according to the prophecies, the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai is going to destroy this place, okay, with nuclear fire. So let's start at Jeremiah 37:1. It says, and King Zedekiah the son of Josiah reigned instead of Coniah the son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon made king in the land of Judah. Okay, so Zedekiah was the king of Judah. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land did hearken unto the words of Yahweh, which he spake by the prophet Jeremiah. And just like in this time, in this day and age, the Israelites, you guys don't listen to us. 2/3 of our people, see, the phone had a chime on that. You don't listen to the Lord's servants, the prophets. You don't believe in the words of the Most High. Because you have to remember, we're not using our own words, so this is not our own narrative. These are the scriptures. We're reading the scriptures to you and breaking them down through the Holy Spirit. But you don't listen because you're hard-headed, stubborn, and wicked, 2/3 of our people, meaning the majority of our people. Verse 3, and Zedekiah the king sent Jekul, and the son of Shelemiah, and Zephaniah the son of Messiah, and the priest to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, pray now unto the Lord our power for us. Okay, so he sent all the priests, even though Zedekiah was in that spirit, he really wasn't listening to Jeremiah the prophet. But he did have, at the end of the day, in his spirit, he knew Jeremiah was the true prophet. Okay, because they were upset because Jeremiah was speaking against the kingdom of Judah. Okay, let's keep reading. Now Jeremiah came in and went among the people, for they had not put him into prison. All right, so he didn't go to prison at first. right? And that's what's going on with us. We know we're going to face persecution. We know some of us are going to be placed in jails and prisons for this type of thing, you see? So we know what it is. We know that, we're going to be punished. So that's why right now, as a man of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, we should spiritually, mentally be preparing ourselves, because some of us are going to get cast into prison for our testimonies, okay? Just like the prophets of old. See, Bone chimed on that too. All right, so let's read. It says, Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem. Okay, so Pharaoh's army, was on the borders here, and on the borders of Jerusalem, and let's see. Let me read that again. Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem. All right, so the Chaldeans, who would also have been known as Babylonians, right? Chaldeans, however you want to say it. All right, it says, Then came the word of Yahweh unto the prophet Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, thus shall ye say to the king of Judah, that sent you unto me to inquire of me, Behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt into their own land. All right. And the Chaldeans shall come again and fight against the city and take it and burn it with fire. So the prophet Jeremiah was saying, hey, the Chaldeans are going to come back, or aka Babylonians, are going to come back, and they're going to, destroy Jerusalem. Thus saith Yahweh, deceive not yourselves, saying the Chaldeans shall surely depart from us, for they shall not depart. Because, the Israelites were stubborn. They was thinking, oh, well, we don't got to worry about these Chaldeans, these Babylonians. They're not going to do nothing to us, right? But they only left, because of the the Egyptian presence at that time. Because Egypt was a force back then too. Okay? And that's why they left, just because, they left because the Egyptians were there at that time. And it says that they were going to help, right here. That's where's that at? Okay, let's see. See, Pharaoh's army, which has come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt, their own land. See, so once the prophecy was, once the Egyptians go back to Egypt, the Chaldeans were going to move in on them again against the Israelites, right? So let's keep reading. For though ye had smitten the whole army of the Chaldeans that fight against you, and there remained but wounded men among them, yet should they rise up every man in his tent and burn this city with fire. And this is what Jeremiah was telling them. Listen, the Chaldeans were going to come back and burn it, because that was the prophecy. This is basically when our people were going to get taken and carried away into captivity in ancient Babylon. It says, And it came to pass that when the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went forth out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin, to separate himself thence in the midst of the people. So Jeremiah was like, he fled Jerusalem. Because why? He knew the prophecy. And he was like, man, these hard-headed Israelites aren't listening to me. I'm just going to go to Benjamin and separate himself. And remember, he's making himself holy, because that's that word holy. It means to separate. Okay. So he separated himself because, the Israelites were hard-headed. The Judites was being hard-headed. And when he was in the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the ward was there, whose name was Urzah, and son of Shelemiah, and the son of Hananiah. And he took Jeremiah the prophet, saying, Thou fallest away to the Chaldeans. So he was accusing Jeremiah of being, basically merging with the Babylonians, with the Chaldeans. It said, Then said Jeremiah, It is false. I fall not away to the Chaldeans, but he hearkened not to him. So Urzah took Jeremiah and brought him to the princes. So, 2/3 hating on our people, hating on the prophets, trying to put the prophets in trouble, put them in bad times, right? That's what the 2/3 do, man. You guys are gonna, just like then, when this place starts getting crazy and chaotic, you're gonna have a lot of people come against you, and even your own family, it says in the scripture. Okay. Let's see. Let's get Matthew precept. Matthew 10 and verse 34. It says, this will work. Matthew 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be of his own household. See? So your enemies are going to be the ones of your own household, and especially in the times we're coming into. And this is the same thing that's happened with Jeremiah right here in Jeremiah 37, because these were his own people. And they're basically, again, they don't like the words of the Lord. They don't like the words of Jeremiah the prophet, who was speaking Yahweh's words. And just like with us, they don't like the things we're telling them. They don't like being told that Babylon's going to be destroyed. They don't like being told that they're going to, the wicked is going to try and put a micro C-hip in you. They don't like that, right? And they don't believe it either. You ask the majority of these people, they're like, they wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? They're in this stupid simp spirit. Simpletons. Bunch of simpletons, right? That's why when they made that cartoon, The Simpsons, they're basically mocking these low vibration people here in Babylon. Because that's basically like they portray the household in America as the simpletons or the Simpsons, right? Because they're a bunch of simpletons, these people. How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity, right? Tells you that in Proverbs. All right, let's keep reading. Let's see which. It says, I think I left at 15. Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah, and smote him, and put him in prison in the house of Jonathan and the scribe, for they had made that the prison. Okay. So the prophets of old, hey, they went through hell, man. They were being put in prison. They were the people didn't believe them. The people were, remember, there's that verse, because this is what the prophets do. We tell the truth, and we become your enemy, right? Galatians 4 and 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth, right? And that's the lot of a prophet. You're going to make a lot of enemies. People are not going to like you. They're going to hate you, in fact. In fact, they're going to want to kill you. What's that verse? Let me get this verse. I know I butchered it. I'm roughly paraphrasing. Yeah, here we go. This is how it is, because if you're one of the true prophets, the people don't like you, right? They hated him that rebuketh in the gate. Tells you that in Amos. And this is John 16:2. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yeah, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth the Most High's service. You see, that's how bad it is with prophets. They kick us out of the synagogues, which those were the synagogues was the churches where they would, many of them, they were false churches unless they were speaking, the true doctrine of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. But the thing is, let me read it again. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yeah, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth the Most High service. See, so if they kill the prophets, they think that they're doing God's work, because they're so disillusioned, they're so, ass backwards in their thinking, and their mindsets are so far gone that they think they're doing a good thing by putting the Lord's true prophets to death. And the prophets of old, there's obviously many of the prophets were put to death, right? But it also tells you it also tells you precious is the death of his saints, which precious, it means rare, and it also, precious, right? So it's like a beautiful thing, because you die as a martyr, right? If you die, like they're trying to call that dude C. Crizzle, they're trying to call him a martyr, but he's he got put down on the left-hand side, and he ain't no martyr, all right? He died for wickedness. He wasn't in this truth. The old C. Crizzle. All right, so this is Psalm 116:5. It says, gracious is Yahweh. I'm sorry, let me see. That's not the one I wanted. 15 is what I wanted. Salakia. Psalm 116:15. Precious in the sight of Yahweh is the death of his saints. Okay? So let's go to that real quick. I want to go to that and let's see. Precious. I'm going to look up that word precious. 116:15. Let's just see what it says. See what it say. All right. Precious. Okay. Oops, I went to the... Hold up. Okay, let's see. So it's Yakar.
Strong's H3368. Yakar.
So these are some of the words. Precious, okay? It actually means precious, costly, excellent, brightness, clear, fat, reputation, honorable. So precious also going into rare, but it's also valuable, okay, and splendid. Why? Because if you touch the Lord's anointed, let's get that too. You're doing a wicked thing, but it's honorable, it's valuable. It's value. There's value in that. When Esau starts to come against the prophets physically, trying to unalive us, it's gonna be valuable, because guess what? We're the men of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, and we're in the right mindset, the right spirit, and to Yahweh, this is like a, this is a valuable thing. It's martyrship, just like they're praising C. Crizzle when they go to come against the true prophets of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Guess what? In the eyes of Yahweh, that's the true martyr. That's the true value. That's what's really precious. Okay? Not no C. Crizzle who got assassinated a week and a half ago. Right? Let's get this precept that comes to mind. Psalm 105:15. It says, saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. So you can't be put, that's out of, through King David, that Yahweh was saying, hey, don't touch my don't touch my anointed, don't do my prophets no harm. Remember, the prophets are the Lord's men. We're the Lord's men, all right? Esau Edom, he has his soldiers, he has his military, and some of them go into high rankings and whatnot, and they become like, high status, highly admired, they become admired. Well, this is how Yahweh feels about his men. And us prophets who are teaching this truth according to the true doctrine of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, that's how the Lord looks at us. All right? So when you touch his prophets, that's why it says, you can't even offend us. Even if you offend us, the Lord, you coming against the Lord, and Yahweh, he don't like that. When you offend us or when you try to harm his prophets, right? Watch. You can't even offend the Lord's prophets, because he don't take that lightly. Let's go to Matthew 18:6. But who shall offend one of these little ones which believeth in me? Which a little one is a metaphor for the prophets, because when you come into the knowledge, come into the truth, you come in like a babe, right? Like a baby. You don't. You have to start with the milk, and then you work your way to the meat, right? So we're likened unto little ones or babes when we first come in, right? But this is talking about the prophets, the metaphor. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, which the prophets were the first ones to believe in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, right? The first fruits. We have that spirit to believe this knowledge and according to understanding, and we soak it all in, right? The true prophets soak it all in, not just bits and pieces, or not just the Old Testament and not the New Testament, or vice versa, right? We soak it all in, and we believe in this truth 100%. It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. So you don't want to be offending the Lord's prophets, But these people, they don't believe in this truth, so they take that lightly. They don't. They go forward and go on ahead and act carelessly, because the truth is not for them, and they don't consider doing wickedness when they offend us. They don't think it's a bad thing, okay? Because they don't believe. First of all, they also don't believe we're the prophets, right? Because we're stumbling blocks to the non-believers of, whether it's a heathen, natural born heathen, or whether it's an Israelite who's in a heathen mindset, which aka the 2/3, right? So they don't believe we're the prophets. So when they offend us, they don't believe that they have something bad coming to them, and that's okay. That they're not supposed to believe this, right now. Okay, let's go back to Jeremiah 37. It says, so remember, they threw him in prison because the Israelites were hating on Jeremiah the prophet, because he was prophesying against Judah. He was just telling them the truth, right? That the Babylonians were going to burn the city with fire, which they ended up doing. But our people were stubborn. They didn't listen. Just like now, they're stubborn and they don't listen. But there's consequences and repercussions when you don't listen to the Lord's servants. Verse 16, when Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days, so he was locked up for a while. Then Zedekiah the king sent and took him out, and the king asked him secretly in his house, right? He he was moving secretly. Why? Because he didn't want to be scrutinized. He didn't want to be looked at like, oh, he believes that dude. He believes the prophet. Because see, look how the Lord works. You have all these men under the king coming against the prophet, the true prophets, but at the same time, the king secretly is meeting with the prophet. You know, and that's how people are. You know, sometimes they don't really inquire. They do it behind closed doors, or you know, because they're afraid of what other people think. And that's the case right here with Zedekiah, who was a Judite king. It says, and he said, "Is there any word from Yahweh?" And Jeremiah said, there is. For said he, thou shalt be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon. So did Jeremiah sit there and sugarcoat it, or did he let the words of Yahweh fall to the ground? No, he told him according to the prophecy. According to what Yahweh had, the prophecy that he had given Jeremiah, saying, yo, you're going to be delivered into the hand of king of Babylon. That's the word. Because that's what Zedekiah like, yo, what's the word? Hey, the word is you're going to be delivered to the king of Babylon, which was Nebuchadnezzar, right? Moreover, so he wasn't careful with his words, is what I'm saying. And that's how the true prophets are. We're not careful with our words. We're telling you exactly how it is when we go out there and teach. You know, like these false prophets, they'll be careful with their words because they're afraid to offend you. But we're not, because we're in the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, and the same spirit that his true prophets of old were in, just like Jeremiah, just like Isaiah, just like Baruch, just like Samuel. All the different prophets were in the same spirit. Bold, didn't care whose feelings they was hurting. That's the same thing with the Lord's servants today. Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. So, cry aloud, spare not means spare not what? Spare not their feelings. Like, lift up the voice, like talk loud, like a trumpet. Show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. So that's what we're commanded to do, so that's what we do. We don't tell you, put our arm around you and whisper sweet nothings in your ear and try not to offend you. We're the opposite. The true prophets shout like a trumpet, and we don't spare your feelings. We're not going to be worried about your feelings. Whether you like it or not, the prophecies are going to come to pass. All right, that's what it is. That's the time we're in. It's the time we've always been in. The true prophets have always spoken like this, right? They've been, just like it tells you in 1 Corinthians 11:6. No, maybe it's 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. Let's get this. 2 Corinthians 11:6. But though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, but we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. So there it is. The Lord's true servants, the prophets, the apostles, the disciples, were all rude in speech, but not in knowledge. Okay, we might be rude to you on from the surface, right? But when it comes to the knowledge, we're in the spirit because we know the truth. We're the prophets. The Lord's given us the blueprint. He's given us the understanding of the scriptures. So we're going to come at you according to what's written. We're not going to come at you sugarcoating things, telling you, whispering sweet words in your ear, like these false prophets do at these false churches. Instead of telling you that, I'm going to pray for you. No, we don't pray for the wicked. We don't pray for the 2/3. We don't pray for the heathen. We don't pray against the word of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. You see? So, let me get Jeremiah 37, and what am I on? So, he's telling Zedekiah the truth, like he's about to be delivered into the king of Babylon. And then so in verse 18 it says, Moreover, Jeremiah said unto King Zedekiah, What have I offended against thee, or against thy servants, or against this people, that ye have put me in prison? So the same thing is going to happen with Esau, Edom. And, even the 2/3, they're going to be throwing us under the bus. Our own family members are going to throw us under the bus when things get crazy. There's going to be rewards to them that they tell them our whereabouts and shit during the time of Jacob's trouble, when it's in full force. When the fucking shit hits the fan. You see? It say right here, what have I done to offend you, or against the servants, or against his people, that you have put me in prison? And that's what's going to happen to us. We're like, what do we do? We just told you the truth. That's all we did. We just read the scriptures and broke them down according to prophecy, according to understanding and knowledge. What do we do? But it's not going to be good enough. We're going to be thrown in prison because of our words. Their words, our testimony is going to land us in the slammer. Some of us, right? But we have the faith and the know-how and the understanding that even if we get put in that situation, it's very easy for Yahweh to deliver us from a situation like that, if it's his will, right? Because he did that with Peter, right? Let's get that real quick. It's in Acts 12. Let's say one of us gets, or some of us get locked up, which it is going to happen. Do you think the Most High can't get us out? Acts 12 and 5. It says, Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto Yahweh for him. When Herod would have brought him forth the same night, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and keepers before the door kept the prison. Right, so Peter was in prison, locked up. He had two soldiers right next to him, and he had chains on him. Behold, the angel of Yahweh came upon him, and the light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, the angel of the Lord. Because remember, the angels can become like men. They can come down from the chariot and be like a man, appear like a man, right? So he walked in the prison, he hit him on the shoulder, like, "No, let's go. That this is an angel." Behold, the angel of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, came upon him, and a light shined in the prison, and he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, "Arise up quickly." And his chains fell off from his hands. So the chains just fell right off. And the angel said unto him, "Gird thyself and bind on thy sandals." So he did, and he saith unto him, "Cast thy garment about thee, and follow me." And he went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true which was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. So Peter couldn't even believe it. He couldn't even believe that he was exiting the prison, and he's following this dude who looked like just a regular dude, right? But he was an angel, and he would have looked like a so-called black man. Just so for the record, just so you know. It says, when they were past the first and the second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leadeth into the city, which opened to them of his own accord. And they went out and passed through the street, and forthwith the angel departed from him. So right as soon as he got him out, he was gone. Peter didn't see him. All right. It says in verse 11, now when Peter was come to himself, he said, now I know of surety that Yahweh hath sent his angel, and hath delivered me out of the hand of Herod, and from the expectation of the people of the Jews. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. Right? So he point of the story, the angel delivered him. The angel of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, delivered him right out of that prison. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with us too. Those that have the faith to believe that it can happen. Those that have because remember, the Bible says everything aforetime was written for our learning. Let's get that real quick. All right. Let's see. Romans 15:4, it says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope." See? So all these scriptures, all these stories, all these events that happen in the Scripture, in the Bible, they're here for our learning and to give us hope, so that we know that when we're put in those same situations, these miracles are going to happen. Okay? So we have faith, and we believe. Remember, he that offend one of these ones who believeth in me. We have so much faith. Our level of faith is higher than the people who are not of the elect. Only the elect has this type of faith that these miracles are going to be happening, because we know what the Scriptures say, and we know we have the faith. Not only do we know, but we have that key ingredient, which is faith, to believe and know that all of these things are going to happen for certain. It's our expectation, right? King David says, "My expectation is from thee." Right? We don't just come up with this on our own. We expect these things to happen through faith, and we have an expectation because Yahweh gave us this expectation. See, let's go Psalm 62:5. So we expect these things to happen through the Holy Spirit, through the power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. It says, "My soul, wait thou only upon the Most High, for my expectation is from Him." See? So we wouldn't have this type of mindset, we wouldn't have this type of spirit if we didn't read everything aforetime for our learning, and to know that miracles are going to happen. Even if we get put in a prison during Jacob's trouble. How easy is it for Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai to put deep sleep on the watchmen, which I'm talking about like the wardens and the guards, put them in a deep sleep, send an angel just to walk us right out the prison. Man, call Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. See? Jeremiah 37 and 19, it says, okay, so this is what Jeremiah is asking him, why you put me in prison? What did I do? Right? Verse 19, where are now your prophets which prophesied unto you, saying the king of Babylon shall not come against you, nor against this land? So now Jeremiah is calling him out, like, yo, where's the prophets that was lying to you? They're telling you that the Babylonians weren't going to come against you, right? He's mocking the king Zedekiah of Judah. Right? Verse 20, therefore hear now, I pray thee, O my Lord the King, let my supplication, I pray thee, be accepted before thee, that thou cause me not to return to the house of Jonathan the scribe, lest I die there. Okay? So he did have a request, because he was being bold, because that's the prophets. We're bold, man. We're bold because we know the truth. We have the Scriptures. The Holy Spirit's dealing with us. Even if you put us in a prison, we're still going to be bold with your ass. We're not going to change up, you know? And we're not going to be begging Esau Edom for nothing. See? Jeremiah was like, yo, the one thing I do want is, can you not put me back in Jonathan's prison, which was his house, which they made it to a prison? And then it says, so, Zedekiah, he knew, he was kind of like when Herod was and Pontius Pilate, when they didn't want to, they understood and knew that Yahushua was not guilty. So the only reason why they put Yahushua on the cross was because the people were chanting, and they were afraid of their opinion, right? Same thing with Zedekiah here. He did Jeremiah a favor, but it was because he did it like kind of on the down low. Like he did do it on the down low. He spoke to him in secret, we read earlier. So it says in verse 21, then Zedekiah the king commanded that they should commit Jeremiah into the court of the prison, and that they should give him daily a piece of bread out of the baker's street until all the bread in the city were spent. Thus Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. So Zedekiah didn't release him, but he moved him to the main prison and away from Jonathan's house, which that was this, if you read Jeremiah 35 and 38, or I'm sorry, 36 and 38, goes into how the chapter before and the chapter after this one goes into how it was, it was like bad living conditions, and Jeremiah feared that he would die if he remained at Jonathan's prison house, because it was like they put him in in what they call a cistern, which is being like where they have waste and it's nasty and unhumanitarian, like they'd say today, and inhumane, right? So it was just a filthy ass place. So that's why he preferred to be in the main prison than in than Jonathan's house, which that place was like a shithole, basically, literally. So anyway, with that, we know that the Lord has got our back, man. We know that Esau Edom's going to come against us. We know how he's moving subtly, gradually. He's going to actually show his horns and coming after the Lord's prophets, all right? He's going to change laws, change decrees, change executive orders, or make executive orders to where he's going to, there's going to be a famine of the word on the street. You ain't going to be able to come to the prophets. There's going to be a halt in. they're gonna stop freedom of speech. They're moving towards that in the subtly, gradually in the mainstream media. That's what's happening. Those of you that are asleep, you don't see it and you don't believe it, because again, it's not for you to believe. It's not for you to see. But we know where this is all going. All these psyops, like the C. Crizzle assassination, and the way they're talking now. Like if you watch Stephen Miller's speech at Charlie Crizzle's memorial, that was they were speaking in code. Stephen Miller was speaking in code and basically rousing up these Edomites in their spirits to, go watch the speech. The brother Amawan Pada, we did the lesson on Tuesday night, and lots of brothers hadn't heard the speech yet, but through the spirit we could see what Stephen Miller's doing in that speech. He's in code, in so many words. He's rousing up those Edomite spirit to where they're really going to come against you Israelites, you Jake. But our people are stupid, simple, sottish children. They don't listen to us, so they're going to get caught up in the crossfire, and they're going to be asleep. Not physically asleep, but asleep in the spirit. They don't know what's going on. It's going to hit them like a ton of bricks. So anyway, I hope the lesson was edifying. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge Alakia, who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. All right. Shalom, shalom.